Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wrestleview Live number 100. 100 Wrestleview Lives. Oh my goodness. We're here to talk to you tonight about WrestleMania 38 Night 2. And oh my goodness, what an event it was. What a two-night event for WWE. I mean, we're going to talk about it, and I have some very special guests here for you tonight. But before we get into it, and also say hello to everybody in the chat room as well, I'm going to run down the results of WrestleMania, so we just get that out of the way right away, and then I'll start introducing all of my excellent, amazing, incredible, perfect co-hosts here. All right, so kicking off the show, much better than last night's Nobody Tore a Quad here. RK Bro defeated the Street Profits and Alpha Academy to retain the Raw Tag Team Championship in a triple threat match. Bobby Lashley defeated Omas in the second match of the evening and narrowly escaped a skull fracture. I'm not kidding. We'll talk about that. Our third match of the evening was Johnny Knoxville defeating Sami Zayn in an anything goes match. Oh, I have thoughts on that one. And they're going to surprise you. Naomi and Sasha Banks defeat Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler and Natalya, and Queen Zelina and Carmella to win the Women's Tag Team Championship. This is Sasha Banks' first WrestleMania victory. Wow. When I actually saw that stat, I was actually shocked, really shocked. Edge defeated AJ Styles with an assist from Damian Priest, who he's now aligned with. Sheamus and Ridge Holland defeated the New Day in less than 2 minutes. Pat McAfee defeated Austin Theory and then challenged Vince McMahon to a match. And Vince McMahon defeated Pat McAfee. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin came out and stunned the hell out of everybody in probably one of my all-time favorite WrestleMania moments, I think. And Roman Reigns defeated Brock Lesnar in the greatest WrestleMania match of all time to become the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion in a winner-take-all match for the WWE Championship and the WWE Universal Championship. It is now the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. Wow. A lot of stuff happening here. A lot of news to talk about. Holy crap. All right. Let me start bringing in some of these co-hosts that I was telling you about. One of them, I have to introduce this one because she's just so wonderful. And she's very beautiful and wonderful. And she's paying me to say that because her birthday is on Friday. No, she is actually very beautiful and wonderful and smart and knows a lot of stuff about wrestling. My co-host for the Post Raw show, who it's already past midnight Eastern Standard Time. So later today, we will also be hosting a podcast reviewing Monday Night Raw. Okay, Victoria.
Everyone makes me laugh because they're talking about how are they two still married? 100 shows later.
Oh no, we're
for Wrestleview Live.
Oh, I know. We're 150 shows.
Yeah,
in.
we're 150 shows in. So
we've made
it. Good.
You know, once you get over the first 100 podcasts with your wife, if you haven't been divorced by that point, you're smooth sailing.
You're set.
We're looking pretty good.
How was the couch last night, by the way?
This is actually a nice couch. This was a Raymore and Flanagan special here. So right out of the warehouse.
Sponsored by, just kidding.
Nothing but the best for my beautiful wife here. All right, let's continue on bringing in these. Speaking of beautiful co-hosts here, we have our SmackDown recapper tonight, Mr. Roy Nemer, the master of all of our great graphics here. Roy, how are you tonight?
After that kind of introduction, how could I not be doing well? I'm doing great. It's WrestleMania weekend. I'm here with you, with Victoria, with 2 other surprises. I'm doing good. I'm doing stupendous.
You're stupendous. Oh, that's good.
I love it.
In that atrocious adjective.
No,
Perfect.
Roy, this is the only way I like that word.
That's something. These graphics, Roy has been working his butt off all weekend, making all the excellent graphics that you've been seeing on Twitter, on the post show here. So we thank Roy for that. He's the Photoshop master. Every time he sends me a thumbnail or a new graphic,
he's great.
How did he do that?
I know.
I'm Googling how to just cut people out of backgrounds and stuff like that. And I'm cutting half their heads off. And I'm like, fuck it, I can't do it.
That's why we have Roy.
And Roy doesn't he sends me a thing. It's 2 minutes after it. I'm like, how? It's amazing. All right. Our fourth host of the evening tonight is the owner and webmaster of Wrestleview.com, Roy's older brother, Paul Nemer.
And his boss.
And his boss. Yes, I'm my older brother's boss too. That's just the thing that older brothers do. But also, Paul happens to own a website that Roy works on. So
This is true.
Paul, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Disappointing main event, but I was good. I'm good.
Okay.
I
All
think I
right.
spoiled
We'll
it.
talk about that. We'll talk about that for sure. Okay. It's not WrestleMania if we don't have a WrestleMania surprise. WWE brought in Stone Cold Steve Austin, brought him out of retirement, gave him a match in the main event of WrestleMania last night. He defeats Kevin Owens. He comes out tonight and gives Vince McMahon a stunner. Triple H was out tonight. Vince McMahon had a match. I mean, they brought out all the surprises. What kind of surprises does WrestleView have in their back pocket? Well, just the person who basically is like, when I think of Wrestleview, it's like Paul and this guy, Mr. Adam Martin tonight. Adam, how are you? Finally.
Hi, everybody. This is my first WrestleMania podcast in 3 years. I just noticed that. So,
Wow.
yeah. The last time we were doing this, I remember Victoria was like, "Oh, you're not going to talk to us anymore." I'm like, "No, I'm going to continue to speak to everybody." I mean, it was like it was the Raw after WrestleMania in 2019, and it was just a depressing. Paul was there too. But yeah, it's good to be back. Mike literally goes, "All right, so what night you picking?" And I was like, "Oh shit, WrestleMania is this weekend." And now my brain's trying to adjust to life of a night one and a night two, because Paul used to make my life miserable once a year with WrestleMania extending 7, 8, 9 hours, and then we would do these podcasts. I would always take the day off work the next day just to mentally prepare myself, but I don't envy the schedule, because I was looking at Mike was sending the schedule and Signal, and I remember that, like, just that week marathon leading up to even the longer shows. But it's like a whole new world now. Like, the format's different. They're doing the Hall of Fame on Fridays now, and they're doing 2 nights, and this seems to be better paced. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, we're happy to have you here, Adam. This is our pleasure to have you here tonight, sir. All right. Well, let's say hello to some of the people in the chat room as well. It seems like some people are happy to see Mr. Adam Martin back. We got the farmers here. We got Quentin Walters, Daniel Shell, Andrew Elder, Randy M, Goosey's here, Randy Torcola, Brian, Zach Faulkner. I know Uncle Billy's here. Grash is here. I'm scrolling up. I think Nafis Sadat was here. Yes, indeed. Nafis is here. He's fasting for Ramadan, so I don't think he's going to stick around much, because it's hard for me on a full stomach to last through this entire weekend, but fasting for Ramadan has got to make it even tougher. So let's talk WrestleMania, guys, because that's what we're here to do. And we've had a long weekend of wrestling, and I think we're all at our at the end of our ropes here in terms of just the energy level that we have. So we're gonna do what we did last night, where we're going to pick one aspect of the show that was our favorite and discuss it. By that point, we'll cover all the good stuff on the show, and then we'll just talk about the shit after and go from there. I think I'd be stupid if I didn't start with Adam.
Oh, no. I was
yeah.
like, he's going to start with me. Shit. I was
Of
like,
course.
Did you watch WrestleMania?
No, Adam, you're actually very lucky, because
I
by the
did.
time he gets to us, because he's a stupid rule of like, oh, you can't pick what everybody else picked. So
I love it. I love
I'm
it.
like, can you like do it off the air? Like, why do you have to do it on the air?
I love it. Keep doing it.
it was so ridiculous last night. You're like, well, you can't pick what everybody else picked. Sorry.
I get what he's doing. He wants everyone to have a
I
unique
get it.
answer. Yeah.
I get it, but
yeah. So I have to pick one thing that I loved the most about tonight. One that it's a little silly, but watching Vince McMahon try to sell a stunner and failing miserably was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. And he used to have a real hard time with the stunner in the early days. And he would do, I remember when like Sergeant Slaughter took it kind of weird, and then Vince started taking them in like 96, 97.
Yeah.
And he eventually figured it out later, but tonight was just watching Austin just kind of continue to reach out, and then he started laughing. I was like, oh no, this is going bad. And this always has every like documentary they've done about Vince, anybody that gets interviewed for, they all talk about how unathletic Vince is. Like, he's physically fit, but the most unathletic person in the ring, and he's just so clumsy. And this was, I mean, he's old, so I mean, I can't get too hard on him, but just watching them commit to it and not give up on it, and then watching Austin try not to like choke on his beer because he was laughing so hard, that was hilarious. So it was funny to see Vince accidentally react to Austin Theory's music, thinking it was going to be, I don't know if the cue was off or he didn't remember that they were going to play Austin Theory's music. And I have no idea, by the way, who Austin Theory is. Does he take selfies? I've never seen this guy wrestle. I've never heard a promo. I have no idea who this guy is, but I know he's a protege, so I figured it out after a few minutes. But that whole thing at the end was, and Pat McAfee did absolutely phenomenal. I'm a huge Pat McAfee fan. I have been for years. I listen to his podcast like 4 times a week. He's such a good dude, and I haven't been watching obviously the television product, but I hear good things about him on commentary. And the fact that he's so athletic still and can get in the ring and do that, I thought that was fun. So, and just like the crowd reaction to Pat was good, and then to Vince was good, and obviously Austin. Last night with Austin was obviously a little bit more special, but that was hilarious tonight. Old man Vince just completely botching a stunner. I have to pick that one. It was a fun show, but that was by far the highlight for me, without question.
Oh my God, yes. When I was, I got to tell you, like, there was a couple times I had to like pinch myself this weekend. Last night when the Kevin Owens thing became a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin, I was like sitting there. I talked about this on the post show last night, where it was like, wow, I can't believe I'm recapping a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it's not a match that happened like 20 years ago. This is incredible. This is like a dream come true here. And then I got to recap a Vince McMahon match tonight. That was something. 76 years old. I don't look like that at 34. I don't look anywhere close to that at literally half of Vince's age.
Stop it.
I don't. You've seen me with my shirt off. How dare you? This is true. This is very true. But yeah, that stunner reminded me very much of Madison Square Garden in 1997 when Vince took the first stunner. The only thing that was missing, he still had the same eyes. You know, like the same, like he has weird eyes. He has like very beady eyes. Mm-hmm. But like the only thing I was missing was the gyration, like that whole thing. But that was one of the worst. Like, you know, and I'm not picking on him because, you know, he's the president. Everybody seems to hate him. But no, Donald Trump, before Vince McMahon just took that stunner, Donald Trump had taken the worst stunner in WrestleMania history. Now it's back to Vince.
Yep.
Nobody does it. Nobody does it better, I should say. Roy, what did you think of this moment?
It was great. I was just slightly disappointed that Austin didn't show up during the match itself, during Austin and during Vince and Pat McAfee. I was just kind of expecting, you know, the glass to shatter and all that stuff. When it didn't happen, then Paul called it. He said, "Oh, you know, watch him come out after the match," and thankfully he did. It was fun. It was nostalgic. I felt like a kid again. Same emotion, same everything, same feeling as last night when he gave Kevin Owens the stunner. It was just fun. It was another great WrestleMania moment.
Yeah, Paul, what were your thoughts on Pat McAfee in the ring?
Impressive. Honestly, I didn't think he was going to do the stuff he did. You know, the high flying. He did, I think, a couple of spots. It was pretty good. And the fact that he won the match, I was surprised he actually won the match at first before losing the Vince. Because I thought they were still going to, you know, he's going to do a couple of high spots, going to be impressive, all that stuff, crowds behind him. But Austin Theory, because he's a wrestler, they're eventually going to make him win. But obviously, business has changed a lot, and now they don't give a shit about any of that. They just make anybody win, like against Sami Zayn, for example.
There's a mousetrap in the ring tonight.
Weird things happen.
It was so weird. It was so deeply weird. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, and it also makes sense for, you know, where they were going with this. Am I crazy? I guess I'm the only one on this podcast here that, honest to God, didn't think like I was just like, what are they doing with like Vince, like him going over? I thought that like, okay, Austin had his moment on Saturday and that's it. We won't see him again. But I should have known when they sent the Undertaker out there for a second night that maybe there was a chance that Austin could come out. And but like when that music hit, I don't know why. It was just like instinctively. I just got out. I got off the couch. I stopped recapping. I was literally jumping in front of the TV screen. Like,
Yeah. It was a sight. I didn't get that one on camera, guys. I apologize.
We're still waiting for the video from yesterday.
You just have to. I do have them. I do. Yes.
I would have spoiled it for you. I called it. I said he's gonna come out after the match. He's gonna stun both of them. And then when Pat came in the ring and they had a beer, I'm like, he's gonna stun him too. Roy and Dan were like, no, he's not gonna stun him. I'm like, he's gonna stun him. Watch.
well, once he was in the ring, I figured everybody was getting stunned and or stunned, and if Pat McAfee didn't get it, I thought Byron Saxton was going to be eating a stunner.
Oh,
again.
That would have been great.
I was kind of hoping
that would have been like the cherry on the top.
I have to add really quick. Austin Theory sold the stunner from Austin phenomenally. That was so like the way he popped up. It just as soon as it was very reminiscent of when Scott Hall did it at WrestleMania 18. I always remember Scott Hall's like pop, and then he just he did a good job. That was very cool.
Yeah, he's actually very, very good.
He's talented. Yeah.
I mean that's a big moment for a 24-year-old to be in with Vince McMahon who created WrestleMania.
Boom! Look at that.
Boom!
Like a fish out of water.
He got so much air on it. I was like, "Oh, that's so good. That was so good." Yeah,
so
White men can jump.
I popped for that one. That was a good one.
That's incredible. That is so funny. Actually, it's like I didn't really appreciate it at the time, but yeah, that was very much a Scott Hall type stunner there. Victoria, what did you think of one more night of Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon?
Okay, so I actually said to myself, he probably is going to come out tonight. And I know most people probably bought tickets to
Even
both.
my wife. Jesus Christ. I must be a real...
No, I think because most people bought tickets to both nights, but there probably maybe are some people who bought for only night 2. So I would think that they would do certain things and having Undertaker come out again and then having Stone Cold come out again, because you want to have those people get their moment. And even if you're there both nights, who doesn't love the both of them coming out again? This was great. I was in such a oh my God, when Vince was walking past the ring, right? And he did this with his jacket. And then I was like, oh, and then he put it back up. I'm like, yeah, nobody wants to see that. I'm like, nobody wants to see him get in the ring. But then when he took it off, I'm like, yeah, I want to see him get in the ring. I want to see this happen. Because again, we talked about this last night, but I didn't see, like, there's certain things I saw when I was younger, but I was banned from watching. So I got to live it again, and I got to, well, actually for the first time really with certain stuff, and I was like, yes, this is great. Never thought I'd see the day where they both be in the ring together and they'd be doing what they're doing, but it happened. And it was awesome.
It really was. It was a really special moment. And I couldn't help but think, when they sent Austin out there for the second time and just like popped the Texas crowd crazy. Last year WrestleMania, that was the first show that they had that took place before human beings that weren't paid to be there. Over a year before they didn't have a live crowd. They finally got a live crowd out there, and they just took a dump basically on pay-per-view. It was just like, I thought the show was horrible. I was like, God, like there was like no celebration of the fans being back. It was just like, everything was just like business as usual,
well, wasn't it kind of controversial that they even decided to have people at the stadium? That was
really was. I mean, you think about it, was, April, 2021, we're just, everybody's just getting vaccinated and things like that. Of course, it's in Florida, and everybody hates Florida right now because they wouldn't, do enough to protect their people or whatever. But there was it just like, I was like, my God, like this WrestleMania should be like a love letter to the fans. Like, we're happy to have you back, and they didn't do that. Well, they did a complete 180 these last 2 nights, and I mean, I'm not gonna complain about fan servicing, but they definitely did some fan servicing at this show, which I think was the right move. Okay, Adam gave his pick, which I think that's off my list now. So I'm going to go to our webmaster and owner here, Paul Nemer. What was your favorite part of WrestleMania 38?
Well, first of all, I think Adam's pick was everyone's pick.
Yes.
With that being said,
what would you like second best?
I don't know. I don't think I had a second best. Honestly, that overshadowed everybody else. To be honest.
Kind of did actually, and didn't I think Victoria said as Austin was walking to the back, like you said like something like that I would say as like a snarky little shitty comment, but like it was actually kind of true. That, like,
could I say?
I'm gonna fucking sleep on the couch tonight. I don't care. I'm going all in.
Well, you said it was a nice couch, so why not?
It is a nice couch. What the hell, you know? And it's like when you have to get up early for work and you go to bed late, you should sleep on the couch because you can't really ever truly get comfortable.
All right, shut up and go
anyway,
get to your point.
Look, that's like the husband playbook right there. Anyway, like Victoria's like, you know, like she goes after all that, who got over Steve Austin? We'll never see him again.
Yeah. But it's Mania. I mean, that's the other. That is the other silly hot take that I see from the internet wrestling community, which never change. My timeline has been filled with anti-Cody Rhodes rhetoric for the last 24 hours, and I love it. I never nothing. If there's anything that's consistent in life, it is the butthurt wrestling fan, and it just they never go away. They're always around. And I've been gone for 3 years, and oh boy, do they just still have a seat at the table. And I couldn't believe the hot takes I was reading about Cody Rhodes last night. But that is the one thing about wrestling that has never changed. But you're right. It's just, it's a consistent that's never going to go away. I love it.
Well, it was, okay, so a few years ago when Mike and I went to MSG, and they had The Undertaker, they had Stone Cold come out, right? It was a great show. But there were some people just like poo-pooing over it, and we're like, "What else do you want? Like, what? Like, do they need like a whole, like they want a whole marching band, and they want a whole like thing? It's like this is a great show."
There actually was a marching band in WrestleMania.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this was a great crowd. Again, I really felt like the crowd overall tonight, again, delivered.
Yeah, like oh my God, you're right. Like this is like they didn't. Like there was, I mean, there was what chance when Austin was out there and all that stuff, but I mean, there wasn't a lot of promos at it's WrestleMania. But I mean, we're used to years of just like, you know, let's cheer the heels, boo the faces, and just shit all over the show. I mean, this crowd was like a classic wrestling crowd.
They were great.
Every face, they were like behind 1,000,000%. Oh my God, we didn't even talk about Pat McAfee coming out to Seven Nation Army.
Yeah, that was cool. That was good. Yeah. A lot of international fans there that enjoyed that one because that's a big soccer song, right, Roy?
Yeah, mostly in England.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, every time we go to WrestleMania, there seems to be like a huge like United Kingdom contingent there.
Mm-hmm.
They love their wrestling. They're all waiting for England to get a WrestleMania or another SummerSlam. So we'll see. They certainly have the stadiums for it.
I love that song. The White Stripes are great. And funny story, real quick, totally off topic. The Seven Nation Army has played into many a enjoyable summer for me. My dad has a shore house down in Wildwood, and it's a condo. And I don't know, like we get a little rowdy at night, especially when there's a few.
I know where you're going with this. At first, I didn't know what
flowing, and we get a little loud and. Knock, knock, knock. Security at 2 a.m. It's always the guy underneath us. His name's Herb. So, like one time, we went down there. My dad's like you guys can't fuck around because Herb's gonna get really pissed off.
Herb.
I was like, fuck Herb.
I love those names, Herb.
What is that, Herb?
Don't make Herb mad.
So me and my brother just start marching around the house, banging on the floor. Herb.
Such a good song. Yeah.
Immediate first thought, McAfee's coming down. I'm thinking of Herb.
Yeah.
Moral of the story, don't live in a condo complex with me. It's not a good thing.
It's not fun.
We got driven out of our condo complex.
It was interesting for me to observe the audience just being on for everything, because the last 3 years I've consistently been fed a line. Like if you're only on Twitter and you're not watching television shows from start to finish, the narrative that I got is AEW is the best thing that exists in wrestling today, and the WWE product is awful. No one wants to buy tickets. No one wants to go to these shows. The storylines are bad. The wrestling's terrible, blah, blah, blah. And then I turn on WrestleMania I watched a good portion of last night. I watched the whole show tonight. And now granted, this is a a combination of people coming from all across the globe to attend the show, but that wasn't really getting that vibe. Like, if this product really was in the shits, that many, like, you're not getting, like, are you getting a deal if you buy 2 tickets to both shows? Or was there anything, like, I don't know how this works. Like, this is new to me, but I don't get that vibe. Like, maybe post WrestleMania, it's going to be a little rough, but I don't know. That's the narrative that's been fed to me on Twitter over and over again. And when I watch a show like this, it's like the polar opposite. And that's why I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I always say on like social media and just in general, and then we'll get back to, talking about the actual show, but I always say that it's always a minority, that it's a vocal minority on social media that could really make you think that this is what majority of people are thinking, but it's not, and this is Adam, you're right. This is a prime example of that. People were very much into this, and people very much enjoyed themselves.
But at the same time, we can't base the product, for example, WrestleMania yesterday and today, I think they hit it out of the park, right? It was a home run both nights. It was one of the best weekends in a very, very long time, and I'm talking years. But the product has been lacking a lot of, good stuff over the last 2-3 years, in my opinion. And Raw, I think Raw, didn't they do a 1.9 rating last week or something like that?
They did, and that was their best rating in quite some time. They have not peaked over 2 million in, I think, over a year.
So in a way, the product has been down. So the stuff you're reading online is partially true, but you can't also listen to the AEW fans, because they'll just they'll rip WWE every chance they get.
And it's not even that. It's AEW to me was just a portion of the stuff I was reading, but there was also a lot of analytics I was reading, like television ratings and attendance, and comparing AEW attendance to Raw taping attendance and stuff. And I even think back to when the WWE's business started to downturn, and you saw, like, around, I would say, WrestleMania 11, WrestleMania 12, they were going back to the small arenas and they were struggling to sell tickets and stuff. And they're not, this is, I can't remember who said in the chat, and they said it's not totally fair to say WrestleMania. It was Brian Farmer. You can't just watch WrestleMania and think this is a full summary of how business is going. But they did 65,000 legit tickets last night, and another roughly 65, 70. That's not down business. Like, I know the product can be struggling, and you can have issues and problems, and I would be lining up with you to tell you that a lot of the times when I would catch stuff in the last couple of years, it sounded like people were robots reading from a script. But from a business standpoint, that's a lot of tickets to be selling, and I don't know.
The numbers are up if you want to talk about ratings and this and that, but obviously it's no longer the 90s, early 2000s, where ratings are completely everything. I'm literally on the WWE's YouTube channel right now, and they uploaded a 57-second video 3 hours ago of Riddle delivering an RKO that has over 200,000 views in 3 hours. That's pretty freaking good numbers for a 3-hour video that's 3 hours long. So it's very easy to just say, well, WWE's shit and AEW's whatever and this and that, because people like to shit on what's popular, and people love to shit on WWE.
You also have to look at these numbers as like a lot of people tend to look at these as if they just exist in a vacuum, that like it's only wrestling that goes through that. The way that like Roy just mentioned a really important thing, that the way that people consume the product is very different. And the amount of people that watch television anymore, as opposed to like a streaming service, those who have cut the cable and things like that, those numbers don't get counted, it's not like whatever it was in like the late 90s, early 2000s for ratings. It just doesn't tell the whole story anymore. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't. Now, that's not to say that that's not me defending the WWE product, because I'm with Paul, where it's been very, very hard to watch at certain times. And it's like they do this thing with their shareholders too, where it's like, we all know, business is down, but then they'll go to like Saudi Arabia and get $200 million to do a show there, and then just say like, hey, look, business is great. Or like, USA Network gets pissed off and they're like, oh God, the ratings suck. And then they're like, oh no, they don't. We're going to do Raw Legends night. And then it gets like 2.5 million. Hey, WWE's back. Like they can trick their, people like that. But, those who put in the time, watch it week by week, know that it's
definitely had its issues. But I think that, to just go back what Adam was saying before, I think it's just interesting that the illusion that you can get from certain things that you read, when in actuality there are certain things happening that are, not bad.
Right. Because I'm not shitting all over the AEW. Like I've been very impressed. I've had conversations in our Signal chat about like Mike bringing up like, whoa, they sold way more tickets than WWE did on the East Coast. I'm like, oh, that's impressive. That's cool. And like the Punk thing, when I came on and talked with Mike and Roy about that was amazing to watch. I loved that segment. But it's like Victoria was just saying, if you just kind of like are perusing and looking at trends and what people are saying, and I'm not trying to say the WWE product has been absolutely phenomenal, because I've listened to what Mike and Victoria have said after Raw episodes, and I'm not watching, so I'm not qualified right now to tell you if it's good or bad. But from what I'm hearing from them, it's been a struggle to watch, but that doesn't always translate to business. And usually that is how the trend works. If a movie sucks, people don't go see it, and that doesn't sell tickets. And I know WrestleMania is a once a year annual show, and it's a big show, and people always want to go and experience it. But then SummerSlam should be faltering, Royal Rumble should be faltering, all these things. And I'm not seeing that from a business standpoint. It's not a struggling business entity. The creative might be struggling, the presentation might be struggling, but they're not out here struggling from a business standpoint. And that's what was always so strange to me, is you go on Twitter and you would think that they're not selling tickets and no one's watching the television shows and no one's going to the live events, but it's really the polar opposite. And it's been fascinating to just kind of step back and observe that the last couple of years.
Yeah, and from a business standpoint as well, exactly to your point, Adam, their top 4 shows now, the WrestleMania, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Royal Rumble, have become stadium shows.
Yeah,
no longer arena. So if you're struggling, you're not going to go to a stadium 4 times a year, excluding Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, which is gross. I don't like the Saudi Arabia thing. That's for another show. You guys have talked about it.
That's another show. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. But yeah, it's like like you said, the IWC has not changed whatsoever from the time you've been gone.
I don't even know why. I had like this thought. I'm like, oh, maybe it's getting a little bit better. I'm like, oh Jesus, it's just as awful, if not worse, than when I left. So it's never changed.
They don't realize that everybody most people on the AEW roster are established WWE wrestlers. Just jump ship. Well, most now, I think the entire roster is now full of WWE guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some, there are some, but they definitely have some of their own.
But Cody changed that though, so.
Evil Cody Rhodes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Son of a bitch.
But it's really like these gatekeeper fans that actually, I think, prevent wrestling from growing beyond the niche of like AEW and WWE fighting a bloody battle for like the same 3 million fans. It's like the gatekeeper fans online kind of make it very uncool to be a wrestling fan sometimes. I was talking last night about you go to an event and there's it's like a father with his son at the wrestling event, or a family with a boy and a girl, and they're just so amped up to see like Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan and whoever else they shit all over. And then there's always somebody behind them that's like, oh, Chris Benoit. It's like, they're the ones that make it so uncool to be there. And they're the same people that, bring their snaky little heads out on Twitter and just talk shit. It's like, they ruin it for everybody.
Well, that's why I go.
And that's why poor Adam has been confused as to the state of wrestling here.
Well, that's why I go when I defend those children. I always defend those kids whenever we go to a show. I'm like, shut up. Let the kid enjoy.
Yes, I know. And then you become an annoying fan.
No, we got to defend the kid.
All right. So Paul is like, okay. So getting back to where we were going here before, Paul has taken the coward's road out and said that there is absolutely no other moment on this show.
Oh, you made him sit back in his chair. Coward.
What do you got, Paul? Anything on the show strike your fancy other than Austin?
If you're poking at the Triple H thing, no. Mainly because I don't like him, and for me it was like nothing. But for other people, it might have been something. I don't know. Honestly, there was nothing that stood out for me. I mean, it was a great show, but nothing stood out. Maybe if I want to say the Edge AJ Styles match, it was a good match. Okay, so the entire match, that was the best match of the night.
I thought so too.
So
I agree. I agree with that. So what in particular did you enjoy about it?
Everything. Honestly, the whole match, the way they well, it was expected, right? It was expected. You had AJ Styles, which is, in my opinion, the best wrestler they have today, even though he's like 40-some. He's the best wrestler they have today, in my opinion. And Edge is pretty good too. He's not obviously at the level that AJ is in terms of wrestling ability, but the spots they did in the match and the stuff they did in the match was pretty good, and it kept you on the edge of your seat. Like the entire match was like, oh my God, okay, is he gonna pin him? No, he kicked out. Okay, is he gonna, So it kept you going. It wasn't a boring match, and that match was really, really, in my opinion, it was the best match of the night. And it was nothing specific in the match. No, I hated the ending.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was like,
I don't see anything in that Damian Priest at all, and this is like the go around number 2 with trying to get him over. He's got the brooding thing down. He just, unfortunately, he doesn't just have the in-ring acumen or personality. So two things that you kind of need to be a wrestler in 2022. He falls short. Victoria, you have something to say?
Yeah, I'm not to be dramatic, because it was the best match of the night, and I loved it from start to finish. Well, start to most of the end, with it. But something about Damian Priest's presence there at the end just like almost made me forget that the really good match just happened. And then when he came into the ring at the end and they both put their hands up, I'm like, no, why are we still doing this? Like I said, it almost took me out of it. And again, not to be like over exaggerating, but just like that didn't need to happen tonight. Just sorry, that was our alarm.
I was like, what was that?
I otherwise I loved it, of course, but Damian Priest, big no. I really just don't like him.
He's he's like another like pet project that they're trying to get over. I don't see it happening. But Adam, AJ Styles, like I was watching this match, and you haven't been watching for a while. AJ Styles has not been AJ Styles like you would know him. He was in this awful tag team with that big guy that lost to Bobby Lashley in the second match.
The guy that almost cracked open Bobby Lashley's head on the steel post. Yeah, that was smart. Jesus.
Yeah, like it's fucking awful. And like he was just trapped in that tag team for like a year, really not doing much. And I think part of it was like he's probably really banged up, and they just gave him like, all right, well, we want you on TV, but we'll put you with this big guy to give him a little bit of a rub, and and you can kind of take it easy. But it's been like 2 years since I've seen AJ Styles really be AJ Styles. I was watching this, I thought, God, AJ Styles is back. What did you think of AJ Styles' performance tonight, Adam?
I'm biased. I love AJ. I always have. He was someone that he did the flippy stuff, but he was always really physical in TNA with other guys, and he did the X Division, cruiserweight style, but he would always make shit like mean something, and he would actually sell in X Division matches, which didn't happen a lot, which is now kind of like the equivalent of AEW matches where they're doing like 30 things. And that's honestly, truthfully, why I'm going to get shit on by Paul for saying this, but that's why I like the main event tonight as my favorite match, because every single thing that Brock did and that Roman did, they sold it. It meant something. And the Edge and AJ did that tonight too. I'm just used to seeing AJ in this. Like the last time I really genuinely watched an AJ match was against Taker when they did the pre-recorded thing, which I honestly didn't want to watch. And then Tom Van Stone's like, dude, you have to watch this match. And I was so happy he told me to watch it. But I've not seen the tag team stuff. I've seen him do tag team stuff in TNA, but never in WWE. But I was happy to see him out there tonight, and I thought he did really good. Unfortunately, it looked like he like clipped part of the stage when he walked out and he had this big gash on the side of his face and he was bleeding profusely. And that kind of blows. I'm sure that kind of took him out of his element a little bit. But even seeing Edge, like I didn't really watch the Edge. I called it the Edge Orton COVID match. I heard it was not very good. So I haven't really dabbled and watched what Edge has been doing since he's come back. And I thought Edge looked really good too. I mean, for all the stuff that he went through, I'm honestly am surprised AJ's still wrestling, because I thought the last time, and I know he just recently signed a new multi-year deal, but I was under the impression his previous contract was going to be his last contract, then he was going to retire. But I'm assuming he signed for like another 2-3 years, so this could be his last run. But
so he clarified he did sign a couple years ago, and then he had like a player option, and it was reported that he had re-signed with the company, but he actually just picked up his option to stick around longer. But yeah, I think he talked about a lot about how that contract he signed was going to be the last one that he did. And I think they gave him like a thing where it's like, oh, if you want to get out here, you can get out here, but if you want to continue on, we'll keep you on for another like 2 years or so.
Nice.
Well, at the end of his contract, I think AEW is going to pick him up at the age of 50. Like they do with everybody.
Paul's looking to poke the crowd tonight.
I mean, if we can get AJ with Samoa Joe and CM Punk and those guys, I'm all for it. Bryan Danielson, I would watch that. I'd watch for that stuff.
Average age 50.
Yeah, I know. That's
Paul's the heel tonight.
There's a market for it.
Paul's the heel.
It's demographic. I mean, we watched 57-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin in a main event last night.
Yep.
We were all happy. We were just
happy as clams, yeah.
Dancing our tits off. It was great.
So that was one night or 2 nights. That's it.
2 nights, yeah.
Imagine he's there every week now.
So we know Victoria does not like the Damian Priest connection here. Roy, what were your thoughts on AJ Styles and Edge here?
I enjoyed the match up until the end. I just don't know why this couldn't wait until WrestleMania Backlash or tomorrow night's Raw or any other show. I don't like, especially at WrestleMania, when we get like when we get like a disqualification finish or some kind of what we got tonight from with Damian Priest. Like the match, I enjoyed it. I personally thought it would be better, so that's on me. My expectations were higher for that match. Not to say it was bad. I thought it was good. Just I was expecting better. But the ending, for whatever reason, AJ Styles seems to lose every single important match that he is in. And tonight, I think I mentioned Edge in my predictions. I thought Edge was going to win, and I couldn't see Edge losing here. Not that AJ was made to look weak, but they got to start giving AJ these big wins, because he needed this win more than Edge. Unfortunately, did not get it.
Yeah, because AJ has been scuffling. It's been I said, I was watching this. I was like, oh, he's back tonight. So it's the first time we're seeing AJ Styles be AJ Styles in quite some time, and he still lost. It's one thing if the match goes like 15 minutes and they send Damian Priest out there and it's like, all right, well, that's the finish, I guess. But this match was almost a half hour,
right?
And for it to pay off with like a popcorn fart with a fucking Damian Priest coming out, it was kind of a little bit of a disappointment. Another thing that they do with AJ Styles, and this is just just an observation that I made while I was watching this tonight, because I was like listening to the crowd and they were respectful, and it was a pro wrestling match. It was very much like Cody versus Seth last night, where they were super into like them coming out, and then when they were wrestling, they were kind of like polite, watching, cheering for the high spots and things like that. But for the most part, they were just like kind of watching, and just you could hear like general chatter. But I was like, this match didn't connect like Cody and Seth did last night. I thought if there was if there was like 2 genuine professional wrestling matches this weekend, it probably would be Cody versus Seth and AJ versus Edge, where we had a little mix of everything, 1990s hardcore nostalgia, spot fests, crazy action, and pro wrestling. And those are our 2 pro wrestling matches. Anytime AJ's in like a match, like I think back to like the Nakamura match, and it's like, this is a dream match, or anytime any match gets tagged with a dream match tagline, it's almost a death sentence for that. They kept calling this a dream match over and over again, and I feel like the people there were watching, and they weren't reacting like they were reacting last night. And I don't think it's because they were tired. I think they were just waiting for something to like push this into the next stratosphere that these guys can't bring, because the expectation has just been set like so ridiculously high. I hate when they do that shit. It's like that's a
constant, though. That's a constant, and they need to do away with that, because let's just put it this way: why don't the fans call it that? Like, at the aftermath, right? Like, let's just say they had their match tonight and they're like, oh, that was a dream match. That was like, let them come up with the adjectives and the description for what the match was, because then it becomes more monumental, because the fans are taking a little bit more control of what the actual feelings were, and you bring that authenticity to it.
Right. It's like one thing if the dorks on Twitter are like, oh, this is a dream match. But when you're promoting it as like, oh, this is a dream match. It's
don't promote it like that.
I guess something really special.
Yeah, you should obviously promote your matches, but don't be so specific. Don't set that expectation so high where, like Roy said, Roy didn't hate the match, but he also thought it could have been better in his opinion.
They've been doing this for like well over 30 years. Like I remember there was a Shawn Michaels versus Mr. Perfect match. They were like, oh, it's a dream match. And it was like, that sucked. Like, that just sucked. And like you would think like the two guys in the ring. I mean, Paul knew it was going to be bad when Shawn Michaels was in it.
No, I never once said he wasn't one of the best wrestlers ever. I never once did not say that. I just said I hated him because of his attitude.
They did like a narrative baiting thing where they were trying to make it seem like Michael Jordan versus LeBron James tonight, and I'm like, AJ's like over 40. Isn't AJ 43 or 42? And I'm like, how old is Edge? Like, isn't
Edge is 46, I think, or 48.
Yeah, and I think there's a misconception with AJ that he's part of this, and I think it's because of the TNA run, and that he really didn't get the national recognition of the WWE until like, what was it, 2016, 15, whenever it was that Rumble.
16,
So like I mean he was already pretty freaking old when he was finishing with TNA and he did the New Japan run, and that's just the bubble, and that's just the WWE monster bubble where they're like, well, in our world he didn't mean shit. So they were trying to do, I noticed that watching the video package, they were trying to do like MJ versus Kobe or MJ versus LeBron, and I'm like, these guys are not that different. And I don't know, it was kind of silly, but
like Edge when he, even at his prime, it was always like John Cena, Batista, and then like I guess Edge after that.
It's just
like
and AJ was old when he won that WWE championship. I mean, he wasn't like a young pup, but they kind of it was weird they presented him that way. Like when he had the debut match with Jericho, they were very much doing like I'm like Jericho's the grizzled vet, and I'm like, AJ's not that much younger than this dude. Like, what are we doing? Like that's kind of what they do. So.
Right. And AJ's run in TNA, I think it's been kind of romanticized to make it seem like, oh, he was always like, the guy who they were just waiting for him to break out. But like AJ was not treated very well in TNA for, good.
He was like the MVP guy. He was the guy that they would just go to when they needed, like when they went on Spike, they just tossed the X Division title on because they're like, well, we want someone good, so let's just toss he'd already been a world champion, but he was like he was always the MVP that they could rely on there. That's just how he was.
Right, but never like he was never like the guy who was like, oh, we're gonna build the whole thing around him. So it's like they're like, oh, these two generational talents and Edge and AJ Styles. I was like, oh, fuck off. That's not true.
Yeah.
All right, Roy, what's your favorite part of WrestleMania?
Oh, Omas versus Bobby Lashley, because now I'll tell you why. I know you're surprised. I'll tell you why. Because now the Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez no longer hold the title of having the absolute worst WrestleMania match of all time.
Look at Paul.
I think it was worse.
Paul's perking up.
This was.
I like the segue.
This was horrible. No, my favorite part actually, or match or part, Johnny Knoxville and Zayn.
Really?
That was fun. That had no reason to be as fun as it did, as it was. Sorry, no reason for it to be as fun as it was. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cool. It was, Mike, you mentioned it was like your typical late 90s, or early 2000s kind of hardcore matches where it was just bumps for the sake of bumps type of thing, and the crowd was really into it, which I think added a lot to it.
It was missing Doink the Clown.
That's all I was missing. Look, had you guys not said the whole, Pat McAfee, Steve Austin thing, I would have gone with that. But that aside, I'm gonna have to go with the no holds barred or anything goes match between Zayn and Knoxville. It was just fun. It was fun. That's all I got.
When Wee Man body slammed Sami Zayn, I was like, I actually I lost my mind. I was like, holy shit. That was pretty crazy. It was like, I don't know. I think I saw a couple of comments before we started the show and like, oh, Mike's gonna be mad about something. I'm like, I gotta tell you, like, I'm in such a good mood after WrestleMania night 1. I was watching this. I laughed the entire time throughout this match.
Yes.
It was hilarious.
That's
I'm not
what it
gonna lie.
was.
I'm not gonna lie. I started very jaded. I was like, stupid. I don't like this. But then the more I watched it, I'm like, this is actually really good. It's actually funny. I'm enjoying myself right now.
This was not meant to be taken seriously. That match.
I so desperately wanted to not like it too.
Yeah, no.
Last night I was like, oh, it would have been cool if they got Johnny Knoxville in like 2002 when he was fucking relevant. They're 20 years too late. But they came out and Jackass did well in the theaters, for whatever whatever it means to have a good box office these days, because the movies have not come back yet. But Jackass Forever did well. The crowd was into it.
They were very into it.
Sami Zayn was fucking hilarious.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
I don't know. I was just as blown away as everybody else was, because I was like, I don't want to like this, but I do. I very much like this right now. Because even last night we were talking about the celebrity matches, like Bad Bunny last year, and nowhere was it near Bad Bunny by any means. But for what you expect of a celebrity match, like, yeah, this is exactly what you would expect on that level of celebrity matches.
Definitely, like all he did was just take punishment.
Well, if you really think about it, that's the whole shtick of Jackass. So it's like, yeah, no, it kind of makes sense that it was good when they bring in all these,
when they were filming Jackass Forever, he like, I think it was like the first or second day of filming, he got so messed up he had a brain bleed. It's like, he commits. He commits to the punishment.
That's what they do.
So a match like this, to a casual viewer or a displaced viewer that has not watched in a long time, you can either love it or you can hate it. Adam, I want to know what side did you fall on?
I grew up watching Jackass when it started, so it's pure nostalgia for me. Like when Party Boy showed up, I was like, oh my god, he's gonna take his clothes off. And Party Boy was the most hilarious aspect of that show for like years. And it's the thing that's interesting about it is that you're putting somebody in the ring who's used to doing stunts, but it's different. I'm biased. I mean, I think everyone that's watching this and that's on this panel tonight would agree. It's always cringy when they bring a celebrity in, but they don't know how to physically handle themselves in the ring, and that it looks really awkward. Like I saw Logan Paul last night. I didn't watch the whole match. I saw highlights. I'm like, holy shit, that guy is good to go, man. Like he could jump in and do whatever. But we've seen, like, we watched Umaga beat the shit out of Steve-O and Pontius. I think it was Pontius.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was like 06, and that kind of worked because he just kind of tossed him around. But then I was like, oh man, they're gonna do an actual match. But then with the hijinks, I'm like, okay. And Sami Zayn is phenomenal. He's so entertaining. He was like one of my favorite guys that they brought up to the main roster before I stopped like watching consistently. So I was kind of excited just because I know I'm like, oh, if Sammy's in this, it'll be fine because like he knows how to handle himself. But like fucking Wee Man got like a Steve Austin pop at AT&T Stadium. Like I'm like, what is going on? Like, and then the mousetrap malfunctioned, and then Johnny Knoxville fixed it. Like that could have been really bad, and he fixed it on the dot. Like it's not meant to be judged the way we're talking about AJ Styles and Edge or Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Like that's part of this is the one aspect that your hardcore pro wrestling fan probably should hate, because this is the element of WrestleMania where they mix celebrity in with pop culture, and it's relevant because of the movie that's out now. But I didn't have a problem with it. It wasn't my favorite thing of tonight, but I was smiling and laughing, so I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was good.
I guess the question would be, do you think Sami Zayn is happy, or had a problem with this type of match.
Fuck yeah, dude. If you're gonna get the payday that you get at Mania and you get to basically have a garbage match and you don't have to like bust your ass necessarily. I mean, maybe eventually before his career ends, he doesn't want to do this consistently, but I mean, if you get the celebrity nod at WrestleMania, that's going to get a lot of attention. It's going to get a lot of media coverage, and you can't get like pissed about it because that's always. I mean, the first WrestleMania was strictly based off of celebrity status. I mean, it was filled with celebrity. That's the one thing that always shocks me about wrestling fans to this day. They always like forget that that's how it started, and they want to convince themselves that no, this is the biggest show of the year, and everybody needs to be on the card that busted their ass, all year and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, but then you gotta that ruins the whole point of the show. Like that's always been part of it, and I've learned like don't get mad at that thing because that's always what's going to be part of WrestleMania every year. So I don't think Sammy was mad. Can't imagine he would be because he did such a good job. I mean, he was directing traffic out there with guys that don't normally do this. So if anything, they put a lot of trust into him. If anything, it's a compliment if they pick you to do that spot.
And on Fox, their main show on SmackDown, like this was a featured, part of that show, on their best show of the week, like, and you think, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, two best friends, Kevin Owens last night just basically got his ass kicked all around AT&T Stadium by 57-year-old Austin, took a couple stunners and got pinned, but he's in the WrestleMania main event, and Sami Zayn is in a featured match on the card. It's like, when they were advertising this show, one of the freaking featured matches, it was like Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, AJ Edge, Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville. Like that's what you want. If you're a wrestler, you want to be one of the featured people on WrestleMania. And of all the things that will probably be consumed, all the media, all the YouTube videos that will be consumed, coming out of this WrestleMania, Johnny Knoxville has a following, and he's relevant now because of the Jackass Forever movie. That'll probably be some of the most watched stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paul, you look like you were going to say something before. I'm sorry.
No. I'm actually listening.
Oh, okay, good. Excellent. All right. Well, I think I was surprised at how much I liked the Johnny Knoxville thing. I really was. And it was... I was just laughing my ass off the whole time because you got it. Sometimes you just have to laugh. And again, it fits into the variety show aspect of like this WrestleMania. It literally had something for everybody. Victoria, what did this WrestleMania have for you?
I'm sorry, what?
I gave you a fucking perfect. Jeez.
Excuse me. What are we talking about?
Are you talking about? No, just kidding.
What was your favorite? Follow the format.
I hate your format. Okay, I actually really liked the opening match with the tag. I really, really did, and I'm not going to say again, not my absolute favorite thing, but it was enjoyable. I really liked. Okay, so with the tags, I think they all bring something different to the table, but they all very much mesh well in the ring together. It was just a good way to start off the show. Much better than the tag and granted different circumstances last night with the injury, of course, but much better way to start off the show than last night's WrestleMania. It had a little bit of everything, and those high spots and those like big moments, this is where you want to see them at WrestleMania and not on throwaway shows. Like this is where you really bring out the big stuff and you really get those.
Oh, you mean like the Angela Dawkins?
Yeah, like you don't, not that you do. Yes, it's very much impressive. But when you do stuff like that, like every week, and you're doing, putting your all in, and you can put your all in without having to do all that stuff. This is the moment where you do it, WrestleMania, because you want the oohs, the ahs, this is awesome, and everything else. But when you're doing that every week, you're like, and then, well, first of all, you risk injury, and then it doesn't become special. But each tag team brings something a little bit different, but they all did very well, and I was really entertained. And Chad Gable, I can't get over him. I really can't. He is personality plus. Like to me, out of everyone, and they all did well. They're all like very dynamic, but he's just, I can't get over him. I can't
he's
get
Kurt
over
Angle.
him. He's on another level.
But Paul said he's Kurt Angle.
2022 Kurt Angle. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's he oh my god, like the fact that they worked the shoosh into his entrance music.
Yes.
I mean, you know what, like there are signs that Chad Gable could become a major player in professional wrestling. You know how you look at the signs in the arena, like people had, shoosh signs and thank you. There was like a giant they stretch it all across the front row with the thank you thing. It's like people do that when they're really into a guy, and it's like I love this Alpha Academy tag team. I think they're
great.
And I think that Chad Gable should stay in the tag team for now and continue being entertaining. But I think that there's a future for Chad Gable that's more than just, a tag team guy trying to get Otis built up.
Mm-hmm.
He's got something there. This triple threat tag was like all action. Roy, what did you think of RK Bro versus Street Profits versus Alpha Academy?
It was a much better opener than yesterday. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. No, it was. Look, we got a little preview of it a couple of weeks ago with the insane RKO from Raw. The crowd was very into it, very lively. Every team got their action in, got their spots in. Montez Ford is a freak of an athlete, absolute freak, insane athleticism. And I think the right team won. I was expecting RK Bro or the Alpha Academy. I just kind of wonder what they end up doing with the Street Profits. I think, kind of to what you mentioned in terms of Chad Gable, I think his popularity is growing every single week. You see fans liking him, even on Twitter. Some of the comments about him, people generally enjoy watching him. It was, in my opinion, probably the better of the multi-person tag team match on the show that we got tonight. By
easily. Like I don't understand. Like like they have a triple threat tag, and there's three guys from one from each team in the ring, and then they do the fatal four-way with the women. It's like only two. It's like, why? It makes a fucking. They did 2 Tower Doom spots. They did like a stereo suicide dive. It's like what the fuck? Why couldn't? Like, why do they have to do that? Because it's like it just takes me out of the match psychologically. I liked it. I thought this was a really solid opening match. I'm just thinking, in terms of formatting now for the show, I got to. We have to talk about the main event of WrestleMania. We have not done that yet. Winner take all. Roman Reigns defeating Brock Lesnar to become the undisputed Universal Champion.
Can I make a request?
Okay.
Can Paul go first for his thoughts?
He loved this match so much. Yeah.
I really want to hear Paul.
That's funny.
I didn't like it. Like I said before we went on the air, I didn't like the match. I didn't like the ending of the match. Brock's not my favorite wrestler. Like I'm not marking out on anything, on anyone here, or knocking on anyone for that matter. But I mean, we saw like what 2 F5s, and we saw 10,000 spears and 3,000 German suplexes. Like, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the way the best WrestleMania. They labeled it the best match of all time, the greatest match of all time. At least deliver something unique. We see this every week. Every time Brock wrestles or Roman wrestles against each other, that's what we see. There was nothing special about the match. Number 2, this is not fucking Bruno Sammartino years where you hold the title for 7 years or Hulk Hogan for 5. The ratings are down. The ratings are dramatically down, and Reigns is still 2 years champion. Like, fuck, make a change. I don't know.
Tell us how you really feel, Paul.
What?
Tell us how you really feel, Paul.
This is why I want to go first.
So I'm just gonna call Roman Reigns. I'm gonna call him Rambo. It's simple.
Yeah.
You'll never defeat this guy ever.
The
booking.
Paul.
Yeah. No, of course I'm going to acknowledge it. No, I mean, come on, let's be realistic. He's amazing, but just
get off my lawn, Paul.
What? No, but it's not. It's time for him to drop that belt. It's time for him to do. It's not his fault. I mean, it's the booking. He's not the guy that's refusing to job and go over everybody. It's the booking, but they gotta they got to make him lose somewhere down the line, build other guys along the way. And I'm not saying Brock by winning tonight or anything, would have changed any of that, but Brock lost to Bobby Lashley at the Rumble, and then won the Rumble. So he's been consistent lately, being there, being in action. But I think I would have put the strap on Brock, and then probably elevated somebody else to go up against Brock, or had a triple threat match at WrestleMania Backlash or something like that, and have him lose there, or maybe at SummerSlam. I don't know, but have a change, do a change. Like, it's the same old boring. It's getting boring. It wasn't at first. It's getting boring. It's repetitive.
Other Nemer, you have to recap this guy every week. What do you think is happening here with the Roman?
Yeah, I partly agree. I partly agree with what Paul kind of just mentioned. I didn't hate the match. I thought it was hard hitting. I was expecting a bit more physicality. My problem with these one-on-one matches, when it's either Lesnar or Roman, more often than not, we only get the finishing moves or the signature moves. And it's either the F5s and the Germans, or with Roman, Superman and the spear. I don't know if the right person won tonight. I don't know if there was a right person that could win tonight, because at the end of the day, they need to establish new stars. Roman's gone through every single person on the roster, from Kevin Owens to even Drew McIntyre, their Survivor Series match, to everybody. So now you're kind of like, okay, well, where do we go from here? As for the match itself, I liked it. I hated the ending. It just, for me, that ending felt like Undertaker versus Lesnar, when Taker lost the streak, where it was just kind of like, okay, spear, that 1, 2, 3, that's it. There was nothing. And for me, that kind of ruined it. I didn't think the match was bad, but I hated the ending. So my feelings regarding this match are very, very mixed. Was it the greatest WrestleMania match of all time? Absolutely not. Could it have been? Absolutely not. Should they have labeled it as such? Absolutely not. But
it's not even in the top 10.
It wasn't probably even in the top 3 of the tonight and last night. I'm just very curious to see where they end up going on from here, because Roman is becoming very, I don't want to say stale, because I'm a fan of his. I like what they're doing. But for the past couple of months, it's just kind of been very repetitive, and it's getting very stale with him. And this could have been the reset that they needed, had they gotten the belt off him and have him chase the title once more.
Yeah, it seems like they're building him up for, like something somewhere down the line. Someone's going to beat him, but who's going to be that person? It's like the big rumor is he's going to be facing The Rock at WrestleMania 39. And it's like, really, they're going to build him up, run through the entire WWE roster. Now they're going to have to do it twice because he's beaten everybody. So they're going to have to rebuild people and then have him run through them again. Only for what? Dwayne Johnson to come out and pin him? That's going to be like the most. I don't know. Like I mentioned on the prediction show, that this match feels like it would be like a series finale. It's like the two guys that no one could beat just going head to head. And then it's like, whoever wins, that's the end of the show. It's like, it can't go on, but we do truck on with wrestling. It'll continue on tomorrow night, and we'll see what happens. But like, there was nobody, neither guy could have won this match and like really it have been like a satisfying victory, because it's like, okay, now what? Who, like, they're like, you always have to be thinking of like, who's next, who's coming up next. Like, it's okay to like think like, okay, this guy can work with him and pin him, but like we need to prep this guy to get them over. And they don't have anybody on the roster. Nobody. Everybody's like, oh, Braun Breaker is gonna be the guy. I fucking watched Braun Breaker yesterday on at the NXT show, nearly drop freaking Dolph Ziggler on his head a couple times because he's just so green. Like even Wade Barrett on the commentary was like, oh, he's only had 30 matches, but he's he's looking pretty good. It's like, yeah, that's not like he's not ready yet. And if they hot shot him, they're gonna fucking burn him out real quick because he's gonna be exposed. There's nobody like waiting in the wings that I believe could convincingly beat either Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns. It's not Cody. It's not. I don't know who it is. Paul, what are you gonna say?
No, well, it could be Cody if they really want to like prove AEW wrong and they kind of, they want to push him. Yeah, I think Cody would be the next guy for it. But again, Cody beating Reigns or Lesnar would have, I don't know.
Oh, they can certainly have him go over Reigns and Lesnar, but will you believe it?
Yeah, that's the thing. And another quick thing, you notice how Vince McMahon said about Austin Theory, but it wasn't about Austin. He said he's the next Universal Champion.
Mm.
He didn't mention WWE Champion. He said Universal Champion. So they might be going just with a Universal title for now, which gave away the main event kind of thing, I think.
It could. Well, they had said they were going to call it the Undisputed Universal Championship, after they're unified. But I mean, could we get like a screw job finish with Austin Theory getting, but they also said they're gonna go a few months with one champion and then create a brand new world title. Maybe Vince hands the title to Austin Theory like they did with Triple H in 2002. I don't know. I personally wouldn't do that because I think Austin Theory's teeth are too small, but that's just me.
And I think the plan they're going with, believe it or not, with Austin Theory is what they had planned for, what's his name? Kurt Angle's son, Jason.
Jason Jordan.
Jason Jordan, yeah. I think that the storyline they had for him, they're now applying it with Austin Theory. So, yep.
Could be.
I heard that from a couple of people, actually.
Victoria,
Right, I mentioned it to Roy today.
Yeah. What do you got on this one?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was really looking forward to the match. I knew that the outcome, regardless of whoever won, yes, we are in this predicament of where do you go from here, right? I would have preferred Brock over Roman, but that necessarily wouldn't have left it any better regardless. But yeah, that ending, I agree with everybody. Even everybody in the chat was talking about it. It was just so out of nowhere. Brock had the upper hand with the armbar, and then it was like, oh no, never mind. Like he was able to just kind of get out of it and get the pin. There wasn't even like a minute or two later. It was just kind of like it just happened. That took me out of it because I don't know.
Well,
they trolled Brock a lot, I think. We know Brock Lesnar, the beast, right? And all of a sudden he's getting low blowed, he gets hit with the belt, and then the finish out of nowhere with just a random spear and pins him. I think I don't know. Brock will always be a beast, but storyline wise, I think they did bad on that one.
Yeah. Adam, what were your thoughts on the greatest WrestleMania match of all, or the biggest WrestleMania match of all time?
I completely disagree with just about everything I just heard the last 10 minutes.
All right.
The presentation of Brock to me has always been the most special thing about him coming back to this company. And that is because of the legitimacy that he carries with him and that has been lacking in WWE for over a decade now. They centered their programming for a long time around John Cena, but Cena was kind of like a brawler guy, wasn't a very good wrestler, just kind of a brawler that would beat the shit out of guys. And then when Brock came back, it was like, oh shit. And him leaving, he was already kind of a beast before, but him leaving and having some, legitimate, sports background, going into, trying the NFL, which didn't go very well, but having success in mixed martial arts and then coming back into this world. And it always impressed me. I always liked it. And I would see people shitting all over it because of the part-time thing. But to me, I equated this to what they tried to do with Steve Austin and The Rock 3 times. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this is the 3rd time Lesnar and Reigns had a match at WrestleMania. They had the one where Seth cashed in. They had the one at 34, and then they had this one tonight.
Right.
And I understand the thought process of I've seen this before. I don't want to see it again. Why are we doing this on a big stage? But they also upped the stakes with the 2 belts, which apparently are going to be undisputed now, like they did when Jericho won it. But that was weird too, because Jericho walked around with 2 belts, and then when Triple H won it, then he got his own undisputed title. So I don't know if that's what they're doing, but I really liked the physicality between these 2 guys, and I liked the finish because leading up to the finish, they were giving this impression that Roman fucked up his arm really bad, and he's saying, it's out, it's out, it's out. And you hear Paul Heyman pleading with him, don't stop, get up, get up. And then that led into that kind of quick finish where you think, oh, Brock's going to pick him up, F5 the shit out of him, and this is over. And he figured out a way, and he snuck it through. And that is the one real cool element of the spear, is that you can kind of sneak that into transition, kind of like, again, I haven't been watching, so take my opinion with a grain of salt, but the transition from the spear to the Kimura lock, I thought that was great, because that was always a hard thing to like cut off, was the spear. Like when Goldberg and Lesnar did it was just like spear. It was it was trying to constantly set that up. And I liked the back and forth between Roman, and everything they did meant something. I mean, that is the one thing that takes me out of AEW matches, is when guys are just like doing all these like real brutal things, and then they just like pop right up and no sell. And Lesnar barely getting back into the ring at the 9 count when he got speared through the outside. I thought that was really well executed. I loved Heyman constantly chirping on the outside, and then when Lesnar would confront him, he'd go, "Oh shit, I'm sorry, I apologize," and he would cower.
Take me back.
Yeah. I mean, there was little sprinkles of stuff they did, and yes, they're gonna do the German suplex setup spots with Brock. I mean, that's a guarantee. You're gonna get that with him, but I fucking buy it. I believe it when he does that stuff. I don't believe that when I watch other guys try to do that with Roman Reigns. And that's why when you position them visually next to each other, you think, wow, maybe Roman's not going to be able to get this done. Like he can call himself the tribal chief and surround himself with the Usos and ask to be acknowledged. And I haven't really been watching this run, so I get it. If like you're bored to death with Roman's run, I don't blame you. But from a presentation standpoint tonight, I thought they knocked it out of the park, and I liked the finish and how sudden it was, because it was the pleading of Paul Heyman thinking, it's over, and then boom, he wins. And where they go from here, I don't know. But
my problem with it wasn't the match itself. Like I thought, it's a classic, what we've come to expect from a Brock Lesnar match, and actually a Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match, where it's just a whole bunch of high spots, where it's just like, German suplex. There's always a spear through the barricade. There's always an F5. There's always a Kimura lock. There's always a bunch of spears and a bunch of kickouts. But my thing is it's just, like you were saying, Adam, like, when they're positioned next to each other, it's like, oh my God, like Roman, is in trouble here. And Roman did a really great job of playing off that he was in trouble, saying that his shoulder was out, even at the end, when they had him celebrating with the titles, he tried to hold the one up and he couldn't do it. He had just popped his shoulder back into place. They just said that he had done that, which was, I thought, a really nice touch as well. My problem is that there's it's a little problematic, because Brock Lesnar is the only guy that could do that, the only guy that makes you think that Roman could be in trouble, and there just doesn't seem to be anybody on the horizon. Even like watching tonight, coming out of WrestleMania, who are the big winners coming out of all of these matches? It's like, like maybe Drew McIntyre decisively killing Happy Corbin last night. I don't know. Like who are the people that got like the most shine tonight, or like over these last 2 nights? It was like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Johnny Knoxville looked pretty good. Logan Paul is definitely set up for a feud with the Miz. The Mysterios are like totally out of it. I'm just trying to think of like those
Bianca Belair.
Bianca Belair, but she's not going to face Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
I'm talking about people
they're going to. I feel like Cody is going to be positioned very well this time. And
I think so too.
I think there's a perception of like, okay, if we're really going to bring this guy back and we're not going to put him in the Stardust, shtick, which apparently he made a very, very stern, like, I'm not doing that ever again. But just watching, I watched him do a presser today for like 55 minutes, and I was only going to watch it for 5 minutes, but I was listening to the how he was talking about his discussions with Triple H and with Vince and what he wants to accomplish and why he's coming back and stuff. And I feel like he's going to be in this position, at least, maybe not WrestleMania, but in the mix. Cause I know that I've been hearing that rumor for years now if they want to do Roman versus The Rock, but I feel like that moment has passed with The Rock. Like, I feel like Mike and I saw the like ultimate start of that in Miami, and then the kind of finale of that the following year. I think we're just past that. And I feel like they need to figure out something for Roman. I feel like Cody could be that person, But I don't know, maybe I'm just getting caught up in the moment because it's barely been like 48 hours, but I'm listening to what he's saying very closely, and he's starting. He left as a mid-carder, but he's returning in a whole new presentation. And I feel like he's ready for that main event run. I don't know if that includes WrestleMania, but I feel like he's going to be the guy. If
even Adam, I was saying last night, he definitely is a lot smarter now. He learned the business in a whole new perspective when he left, and I think he needed to. I think sometimes a person, in order for them to grow, does need to step back, go away a little bit, and really find themselves. And I don't think he was going to be able to find himself in WWE where he was, because they weren't treating him with that respect, and they weren't treating him like he was capable of doing that. So now that he is definitely more seasoned, it's definitely a possibility. I just want them to be careful with how they do this with him. I mean, granted, now that he definitely can be more vocal, he definitely can assert himself more and have creative control, it probably will fare out better for him. But they really have to be thinking about, they have to kind of micromanage it also, not micromanage him, but they have to really think and calculate how they're going to do this in order for it to be, again, believable.
Yeah,
sure.
And Brett Favre makes a good point too about, The Rock's agent won't let him get injured or miss filming like his last run. It's like, by the way, it's like 10 years to the day that we were in Miami, Adam.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
10 years flew by so fast. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But, like at that match with John Cena at WrestleMania 28, he tore his hamstring and it wasn't bad. He was able to get through the match just fine. But then at WrestleMania 29, when they had the rematch with John Cena, which was kind of like the ultimate, like, all right, that's the end of the, like Adam said, like that time's passed. It's like, but even by the time we got to WrestleMania 29, where he drops the belt to The Rock, it was like, okay, to John Cena. I was like, I've seen enough of The Rock. Like I'm good on The Rock in the main event now. But during that match, he was getting ready. He was supposed to go film a movie, and they had to delay it a month because he ripped his entire like his abdominal muscle off the bone. He had to have it reattached.
He finished the match too. That must have been so painful. Yeah,
so gutsy. Yeah. I mean, my hat's off to The Rock. I'm not impugning his wrestling ability or his toughness by any stretch, but it's like, you can't, it's hard to come in, and train, your body to look like, a movie star. It's a totally different thing to get into the ring and, and do that, because it just seems like he's very injury prone. Like he's so built that but he's not exerting himself like you would in a wrestling ring. And that takes a toll. So they have to they should really, if they're going to be doing The Rock, they better be damn sure that he's coming in next year, because otherwise this is all for nothing.
Selfishly, though, I really wanted him back tonight.
Paul, what were you saying?
Well, he's going to be 50 next year, right?
Yeah, I think so.
To walk over Roman Reigns, imagine that. He comes in, beats Roman Reigns, becomes champion. And all the other guys on the roster couldn't beat him, but a 50-year-old could come in because it's The Rock.
Well, they were already butthurt when he did it with Punk, so it would be worse now almost than when he did with Punk. It's like I remember the outrage of how could they let him beat CM Punk and do this? And then obviously they were trying to make the rematch with little higher stakes. I get it. They needed to add a title to it because the first one was a year in advance, and they just had that full year to kind of mess around, but. Yeah, I don't. Is it really still a prominent rumor, or is that just something that has just? I mean,
I saw it as early as this week.
Oof.
We're still a year away from WrestleMania. Well, from the next WrestleMania, so it's gonna intensify the closer.
Los Angeles. That's gonna be cool. SoFi Stadium. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I don't know. I forget where they're doing SummerSlam this year, but they're gonna be doing SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and of course WrestleMania in stadiums, as well as Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank will be at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, which is what an enormous venue to do Money in the Bank in. I'd be curious to see who Roman's gonna face at SummerSlam. Because I'm also thinking, and Brett's kind of right here too, that Rock and Roman doesn't need a belt. Maybe they can, maybe Cody does get built up enough, or maybe, they reset Drew McIntyre and get him away from that fucking sword and being less of a Scottish gimmick and more of what he was. And maybe he's the guy. I don't know, but they need to figure it out, because it's I don't know, just for a bit from a business perspective, I think that they need to have a backup plan in case. Let's say Roman goes down. Let's say Roman goes and has a match and tears his abdomen, like The Rock did, or something like that, and he's out for a while. What do you do?
Right.
Cody's coming in at a good time. I'm telling you, it's perfect timing for him. This is beautiful timing for him. When I listened to him today talk about watching Seth Rollins go through NXT as a dusty kid and then pass him on the card and then get that WrestleMania moment before he did, they're setting the table. I feel like they're setting the table for him and Seth to be what Brock and Roman has been for many years now. And I don't know. This is good timing for Cody. This was a good move on his part.
Oh, and also, I guess they do kind of have Seth Rollins there too, because Seth faced him at the Royal Rumble, and it was a DQ finish. Reigns couldn't beat him.
Yeah.
So Seth has gone over him a couple times. So maybe, I mean, there are some viable matches for Roman Reigns to have. Let's talk about the rest of this WrestleMania card. And we kind of brought it up earlier with Roy mentioning that this was his favorite WrestleMania match of the night with Bobby Lashley and Omas. Lashley is a guy that they have not put against Roman Reigns yet. Takes down the giant Omas. Roy, what do you think? What do you think? What do you seriously think of that match? Like obviously it was shit, but what are they doing with Bobby Lashley?
Well, if he doesn't, does he go for surgery or not? That's the question, right? We spoke about that in the predictions show. Does he get that shoulder injury? If he does, then who knows how long he's going to be out for. If he doesn't, they're certainly going to need him, because whether he stays on Raw or whatever, because we don't know what they're going to do with Roman Reigns either, right? Does he go to Raw? Does he go to SmackDown? Does he do both? As for Lashley himself, they got to get him as far away from Omas as possible. And he has to thank his lucky stars that this is pretty tough up here, what he has, because that was very dangerous. That turnbuckle incident was yikes.
I was like so disappointed in social media. I tried to find, like a video of that friggin' his head bouncing off the post, and I couldn't find anything on Twitter on it. But that was nasty.
It was bad. It was real. Well, I remember there was some interview where Randy Orton was talking about how disappointed he's been with a lot of carelessness by a lot of these NXT guys, and that he's like, what are they doing? And like this, I think he felt like embarrassed in that this is the company that I work for that's training them, and the guy that dumped Big E on his head a few weeks ago, and Nia Jax was just like a walking injury creator all the time, and then this guy, like, what? Like, it's just, I don't know if it's nerves or they're just not, there's bad ring awareness, or I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's very disappointing to see that a lot of these younger guys they're no Bret Harts, right, Paul, who didn't cause any injuries in his career, right? So there you go. Gotta sneak that one in for Paul. A little wink for Paul.
Yeah, so I mentioned that on the prediction show that Randy Orton's exact quote was, these fucking pop-up blockers. Now instead of selling a punch because you need to sell a punch, now I'm protecting myself because I don't want to get my fucking jaw broken because none of these guys know how to fucking work.
Yeah.
I love Randy, man. He doesn't give a shit. He's towards the end of his career, so he just doesn't give a shit what he says. That's so good. He's right. He's not wrong.
He is kind of right. Yes. Oh, I think Roy found it. Yeah. Oh, finally. Thank you, Roy.
Oh, we can show it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to share the screen here real quick.
Oh, this was rough. And they even did a replay of it, too. I was like, oh, I can't believe they decided to, like, put more of a spotlight on how bad that... Yeah, let's watch it. Right? Boom. God damn. And that's a pretty hefty steel post. I know they have the lights and shit attached to it, but look at this. Boom. Look at that. I mean,
that could have been, like you talk about like what happened with Big E.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop sharing the screen.
Shit. That's
shush
terrible.
That off. Go
That's
away.
Terrible.
Paul's gone. Bye, Paul.
His video went away.
His video's gone.
He's still running on Windows XP.
All right. You think about like what happened with Ridge Holland. And Big E a couple weeks ago where he broke Big E's neck, again, another NXT guy coming up and, being a little careless, in the execution of their stuff, like that could have been devastating. Like, how do you yes, it's like one thing, like it's a simple thing, like send him to the corner. But they didn't teach Omas how to work his size. You know, it's like, oh, everybody can slam somebody in the corner, but like Omas needs to learn, like, okay, but you're like 7'3", and you setting somebody in the corner is not the same as like, you know, as like a guy who's 6'4" doing it.
Did he make these mistakes when he tagged with AJ, or is this relatively new for him?
He didn't do anything when he tagged with AJ.
Okay, all right.
So like
he was just basically the big. He was just the big guy.
He was the big guy, and
okay.
It's like he's been having squash matches. I mean, like, how do you fuck up a squash match? How do you do it? How do you look worse after a squash match? It's like,
yeah.
but they've been doing it. It's like, you know, it's just like, well, he's big and let's just do something with him. But like that, okay. I mean, like that to me is bad business. That's very, very bad business. And people are paying a price for them, you know, basically, you know, like they call so many people up and then they flame them out so fast, partly because, I mean, look, you know, wrestling has changed dramatically, you know, from the time we started watching it, where it's just, you know, you can turn on the television at any time, you know, during the week, and you might find wrestling on in some kind of a prime time hour. You know, it's like Monday through Friday, you know, and sometimes on Saturdays, there's wrestling all over the place. So it's easy, especially WWE, who just, they're not a wrestling company, they're a content creator, you know, to, you know, in their goal to build as much content as possible to overexpose somebody and flame them the fuck out. But, you know, some of these guys are coming up unprepared because, okay, we had this guy, we had plans for them and it didn't take, you know, it's like, oh, we're going to bring up Karrion Kross, but we're going to put a jock strap on his head, and, oh, he didn't get over. Oh, well, fire him. You know, it's like, oh, we had Keith Lee. Oh, but he's too fat. Didn't you? Nobody told me he was fat. God damn it. Fire him. It's like, you know, they have all these like great talent and they've released so much of it, and the ones that they've kept are very suspect. Very suspect. You know, Ridge Holland in particular. I felt let's talk about that match, because I felt like he was getting fucking rewarded for breaking Big E's neck.
Yeah. I actually was literally, you took my thought right now. I was like, let's talk about this in relation to that match.
That's why we're married.
I mean, what a horrible, not like I said match, but what a horrible moment this was. It was like, why does this even need to happen? I mean, and we said, I mean, Paul, I think you mentioned it on the prediction show.
He did.
That you said, no, they're definitely going to, with the New Day, they don't give a shit. They don't care. Like, they're going to have Sheamus and Paul.
Paul's exact quote was, WWE is sick, man.
Yeah. Yes. And Paul was 100% right. And I immediately thought of you, because I'm like, oh my God, he predicted this. This is happening right now. I was so pissed when this was over. I'm like, this shouldn't even happen. It was supposed to happen yesterday, right? This match was supposed to happen yesterday.
Yes.
And then they bring it they got cut.
How do you cut a 2-minute match?
Like, if this was the outcome, it's like, I'd rather just cut it completely. Like, you completely disrespected Big E, and talk about recklessness. It's like, oh my God, you totally rewarded an individual. And again, did not mean it. Nobody, whatever. But like, what the hell?
If you can't work, you can't work. And you shouldn't.
You shouldn't be working right now.
Well, how does it feel to be so damn right all the time?
Not all the time. No, but they've done this type of stuff before. I can't remember where, but they've, you know, where wrestlers get injured and they reward the other guy. It's happened many times before. So I wasn't surprised.
Nia Jax, when she broke Becky Lynch's nose, she became her nickname was the Face Breaker or something like that for a little while.
Yeah.
Like,
well, didn't they do something with I remember Joey Mercury got his face like busted open at Armageddon.
Oh my God.
I forget the year. And I think whoever they were, do you remember who they were wrestling that night?
It was the Hardy Boys and I forget who else. Like,
I can't remember who they were wrestling, but yeah, they like replayed that, and then he ended up coming back and wrestling with like a face guard, and they just kind of, they definitely try to like embrace the non-planned things, the non-scripted things, but I don't know. And why are they calling Pete Dunne Butch? Like, when did that happen? Was that recent?
When he debuted like 3 weeks ago. Roy was covering that show.
All right, that's weird. I don't know why you have to call him Butch. Like, I know what they're doing from a presentation standpoint, but like, I don't know. That was weird, but I don't know. I remember that was the what I was reading on Twitter last night was, we're really going to cut a tag match so Kevin Owens can interview Steve Austin. And then of course everyone was like, wait, they made the right call probably to cut that.
Of course.
And yeah, there was the,
but maybe
very,
cut a
very good
video
call.
package.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the 2 minute or the 20 minutes Austin drank beer.
Yeah. Which I loved.
Yeah.
Give 18 of it. Give 2 to the
The
tag.
New Day versus Ridge Holland and Sheamus.
It shouldn't have happened. It
Fuck
shouldn't have
them.
even happened. I mean, if that's what we're gonna get tonight, what shouldn't even happened? I was really, really angry after that. I'm not gonna lie.
But even if Kofi and Woods would have won, it was a 2-minute match and it sucked, and it shouldn't have been on the card.
I agree.
Right. It just had it really like.
But it just angered me even more because they didn't even win.
Well, even like the Bobby Lashley Omas thing was like, okay, well, Omas sucks. I think everybody kind of knows that, and well, we have this giant guy. Well, let's just pay something off. We've been pushing him for a little bit. Paid off at WrestleMania. Have Bobby Lashley vanquish the giant, and Bobby Lashley is now a title contender again. So like that serves a purpose. This served nothing other than just to be like, well,
No, like Paul said, just sick people.
Yeah. And by the way, that ladder spot with Joey Mercury, when they had him come back with the face guard, Joey Mercury struggled for years with a painkiller addiction directly caused by that ladder spot and coming back way too soon. So, like Paul said, WWE is sick, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They always do like, are you okay? Can you do it? And then they feel pressure to be like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. And it's just,
that's what CM Punk talked about with Colt Cabana all those years
ago.
That pressure.
Just take a Z-Pack. You're fine. Like, nah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, I just shit my pants.
Yeah, I just shit my That was the best response. I just shit my pants because I'm having Z-Packs daily. It's not a good thing that they did that.
Just wait until, God forbid, someone gets hurt from the ring apron spots, because that was once more Edge and AJ tonight.
But
I get it. It's WrestleMania. It's 2 veterans, and they want to go for the big spot. But we're getting these every single week. Like Adam, I know you don't watch the product every week.
I've been hearing about it. Is that the new Tower of Doom? Is to do the suplex on the ring apron?
That's it. No.
Thanks for letting me watch a fucking show with a Tower of Doom again, Mike, by the way. The one full-length episode I decided to watch, and I got a dumb fucking Tower of Doom spot.
2 of them, stereo.
Ugh, it's so bad. It's just so dumb.
That's like the women trope now is like, when they
and they don't have to do that. Like the match was going perfectly fine. I'm like, why do you have to do that? You don't. There's so many other creative. I was laughing at Carmella wearing a mask now. I don't know. Is she wearing that because she's too beautiful and doesn't want to hurt her face?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Touching her face. Yeah.
Like that's funny. And then like I don't know why Natalia constantly looks at the crowd and goes, "Hey!" Like I don't know why she does that all the time. That's weird. But
I don't know why she does half the things that she does. Honestly,
she's very weird. But yeah, like the match was going fine, and then I don't know why they had to do the Tower of Doom thing. But that's
And the last few minutes of that match, Ripley and Morgan were nowhere to be seen. They were like on the outside, laid out. For like the last 5 minutes of the match.
Yeah.
I truly thought for a second when they did it was in stereo, the suicide dives, I could have sworn Liv Morgan clipped her leg on the middle rope when going down.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Tyson. Yeah. No, my only real exposure to Rhea Ripley lately is on Twitter of the way she pins all the women, and that she's doing like she looks like she's got them in a very precarious position, and they always put brazzers on the corner. I'm like, but there's like now she's playing into it because like I guess like a week ago she did it, but she looked right at the camera and smiled, and so like she knows like she's very aware of the fact that people are posting those immediately on Twitter. So that I was like, that was my only real exposure. I haven't seen her wrestle very much. She was just kind of starting to wrestle in NXT when I stopped watching, but she
was my Adam. She was my girl. Like I really liked her in NXT. I very much enjoyed her. And then when we saw her, what was it, about a month ago now?
Yeah,
about a month ago. That's what I enjoyed about her. What she was doing at that show, she was Madison Square Garden. She was incredible, and I wish they would showcase more of that on live TV.
Yeah.
Because she really was really good and she had a lot of potential. And she got 2 chances and they messed it up both times.
Now you can watch her on Brazzers.
and she appears to have a following. I was watching, don't ask me why, but I was watching the pre-show yesterday, and they were interviewing just a bunch of kids, 2 of them. yeah, two of them were Rhea Ripley fans. Like one of them was dressed like her and had the makeup and the little face paint thing here. And she has a following, and kids are, kids are
They're also learning things they probably shouldn't be learning
They-
with her. The
well,
way she pins people.
building up the next generation. Of,
Exactly. There you go.
Well, it
of
seems
Rhea
like everybody
Ripley.
has an OnlyFans at this point now. So.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, we're going to start to wrap up this podcast here, this WrestleMania review on Wrestleview 100. If you've been watching the video, if you're new to us, please subscribe to the channel, like this video. There's a whole bunch of people in this chat room, and you need to like our video. Come on, goddammit, let's go.
Yeah. Hit the button. Just look at him. Just stare at him right now, Mike. Just give him eye contact and say, "Hit that fucking button right now." What are you doing right now? Just gotta get him
right
pressure.
now. Let's go.
Hit the button.
God damn it! You're gonna get the treatment. I'm gonna give you the treatment, like I've been talking about in the post.
Or the couch.
Yeah,
You're
that
gonna
too.
sleep on the couch too. Victoria's gonna put you on the couch. For some of you, this may not be a different sleeping arrangement. I am not sure.
Ouch.
All right. All right. Let's talk about just put a bow on this thing. What did you think taking this both WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday as one giant event? What did you think of the entire weekend, and where would you rank this on your all-time WrestleMania list? I'm going to start with Roy.
It was funny, we were talking about this, Paul and I, right after the show ended. I thought Saturday had better matches, but I thought Sunday was just more entertaining, if that makes sense. It was just more goofy. It was more fun. It was more, I don't know what it was. I loved both nights. I don't know which was better. I know all of us kind of spoke about how maybe Saturday's show would be better than Sunday because of the matches and it was more stacked. But tonight, just, I don't know, the flow of the matches, everything, there was nothing aside from maybe Omas and Lashley where you're like, God, okay, I got to watch that. Everything was just good. It was, it felt like a WrestleMania, which I'm very happy about because I haven't felt this excited, or I wasn't this excited or enjoyed WrestleMania as much as I have today. And honestly, I can't remember how long. And in terms of where it ranks, I don't know. I got to think about that. It's better than WrestleMania 11, certainly better than WrestleMania 9, and
Better than 16.
Better than WrestleMania 2000. That was. Although I know why Paul
letdown.
dislikes that one, but it was very good. It was very good, and we got some different matches there's different style matches that we don't normally get in WWE.
Victoria.
I really like. I'm eating crow because last night I was, poo-pooing on Sunday, and I was saying like, I'm not really gonna enjoy this. I'm not really gonna like it. I very much enjoyed Sunday, not maybe as much as yesterday, but I did enjoy it a lot. It had a lot of good elements to it, but it was great, and it's in my top five. Because again, Randy said this yesterday. I haven't watched as many WrestleManias as you guys, so my number is a little bit lower. But it's in my top 5 of WrestleManias.
Paul.
They delivered again. I said it yesterday. They delivered again. And overall, both nights, now I'd give them an 8.5 on 10. Seriously. Great show, in my top 5. Definitely.
Of all time.
I'm old school, and I have my WrestleMania 10, WrestleMania 8. I can name them, but this is in the top 5. I don't know where. Maybe number 4, maybe number 5. I don't know, but
Hang
it's
on.
in my top 5.
WrestleMania 8?
My God, I loved it, man. I loved 8. Maybe because I was a kid and everything was so, I don't know. But
Ask him if Bret Hart
amazing.
won a title. Ask him if Bret Hart won a title.
Okay. Oh, that's it. That's it.
That's
Okay.
it.
That's
I
the
forgot.
dead giveaway,
Piper and Hart. Yeah.
No, but it has nothing to do with him winning the title, and has nothing to him beating Piper for the first time, pinning him. But no.
You thought Hulk Hogan was going to retire after facing Sid. You were probably excited as hell.
No, the Papa Shango interference and the Ultimate Warrior. No. But no, I liked it. Anyway, but this was a really good WrestleMania. Both nights were good. And even if you were to put them individual WrestleManias, let's say yesterday was WrestleMania 38 and today's was WrestleMania 39, they would both be in my top 5. They were that good.
Wow.
They were really good overall.
That is a powerful endorsement from Paul Nemer, who is Mr. Wrestling. Love it. Love it.
Top 5.
That's a spicy take, man. Adam Martin.
I have not watched a WrestleMania for the last 3 years, so I would not be super qualified to really put this in a ranking system because I haven't watched a single second of the one from 2020 or 2021.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah, and I know that was like the pandemic era, so I didn't. I mean, I saw the Taker match, and that was it. That was the only thing I was really wanting to see, but I like the concept of the night one, night two. Like selfishly, I'm jealous that when I was covering WrestleMania for as long as I was for Paul, that it just gradually got longer and longer. Like I remember the first year I was with Wrestleview for WrestleMania 18, and that was a relatively longer show. I think it went like an hour, a little over, but I remember like I was having a conversation with Paul. I'm like, man, I hope they don't keep doing this because this is rough. And then it progressively just got worse in terms of length. And I think 34 was like really hard to stomach for a lot of people because that show was like, what, 8 hours, 9 hours or something?
35, the one that we were at in MetLife.
35. Yeah. That was brutal.
I remember calling into the post show and we were like,
yeah.
I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah, because people were just so burnt out, and I think this night one, night two concept is good. And I remember wondering like, okay, like New Japan would do this. Yeah, Randy is very correct. They would start at noon and end at 3. With New Japan doing like Wrestle Kingdom shows, like night one, night two, I was thinking like, man, they're running the same huge Tokyo Dome and they're selling the same amount of tickets. Like, why can't WWE do this? And they finally are committing. It looks like they're going to do it again next year for Mania in Los Angeles. And I like breaking this up. I mean, I remember Mike texted me and I'm like, why does Saturday seem so much better than Sunday? And you were confused. And I was like, oh man, is this going to, tonight was good. I mean, I didn't watch all of yesterday's show. I jumped in, I turned the feed on and I heard Cody Rhodes' music. I'm like, well, fuck, now that just got ruined for me. But, so I went back and I watched the Cody match, and then I watched the ending and everything, but it was good. I mean, I'm coming in here completely blind. I don't watch television. It's very rare when something hits my timeline on social media, but I'll check it out. But I thought it was fine. It wasn't the greatest WrestleMania I've ever seen. My favorite of all time was WrestleMania 10, and nothing's going to top 10 for me. I have a very, very 15 for me, for some reason, has a small piece of my heart. I don't know why, just because of how hot the Rock and Austin feud was at that time. And it was just explosive, and wrestling was just like at its peak in 99 right there for me. And plus it was me doing, stuff online with Paul too and stuff. Like I knew Paul, but I wasn't working for Wrestleview yet, but I was getting into that. So it's just nostalgia for me. But this was good.
I told you, Mike, WrestleMania 10.
10 is just there was something about Brett and Owen, and then the ladder match with Razor and Shawn, and then to have Brett wrestle again. And when I was a kid, I was like, there's no fucking way he's beating Yokozuna. There's no way. And then when he pulled that off, and the way Brett pinned him, like barely getting the pinfall, and like he could barely get his leg up. That's just etched in my brain for the rest of my life. And as a kid,
I always thought that finish was so weird, though. He just kind of.
I loved that about the finish. Well, that's what I loved about it, was that he was barely lifting that big fucking tree trunk of a leg that Yokozuna had, and I loved that. I loved every aspect of that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would put this in like. I was getting real towards the end. Mike knows this. Towards the end, I was getting real fucking negative about WrestleMania. I hated 31. 32 I thought was okay. 33, 34 was just the how long it was weighing on me. I was like, I want to like this show. I want to like these matches, but Jesus, like break things up. And so I think this is actually a good direction for them to take, is this night one, night two concept. And I think it's going to help the presentation of WrestleMania going forward. So to me, this was a step in the right direction. I don't know if I'd put it in a top 10, but it gives you an idea of what could be possible down the line to kind of give people a break a little bit. So I thought it was good. It was good.
My favorite of all time is 17. I just saw it from top to bottom. I mean, even though 17 kind of ended wrestling's hot period with Steve Austin turning heel, I like when I go back and watch that card, I'm just like, oh my God, like that's just like everything professional wrestling's supposed to be. 10 is in my top 5. I will say that it's like 17, 14, 10, I would say. 10,
14,
10
really? Okay.
Excellent show. So 14 was, I just loved 14 because I love the Undertaker Kane feud.
Yeah.
And they paid that off in such a great way. You know, it's in the Pete Rose thing. You know, Austin finally winning and Mike Tyson there. That was such a big show.
The Tyson stuff was good. Yeah, you're right. It was good.
Yeah, it's like that to me. It's just like that's magic for my childhood. You know, it's like. And I remember when they came out the WrestleMania 2000 game on N64, and they had like, you know, they showed that counter of Steve Austin, you know, doing this countering the sweet chin music and the stunner. I was like, oh my god, I just loved that spot always. You know, it's like Saturday was very much like wrestling. Like that was like WrestleMania with tons of nostalgia. Lots of, you know, there was some good pro wrestling matches on that show. Sunday felt like this is the sports entertainment side, you know, with the Johnny Knoxville stuff and, you know, Edge doing his camp, you know, like his, you know, his grandiose, you know, wild entrance and things like that. And you know, the Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns spectacle, you know, it just felt very much like sports entertainment taken together. You know, I think it's a very successful show. I don't know if I can put it all in my top 5. If I could just take Saturday, I would put that in the top 5. But if I have to take both shows and grade them together, it'd still be in my top 10. It would absolutely be in my top 10. I thought, you know, today there was a couple goofy things on the show, but you know, nothing that was like offensive. But I really enjoyed it. Quentin Walter says 14 is his number 1. So, you know, these people are there. We got smart viewers here. We certainly do. Although I got to say, you know, the reaction to night 1 when I like as we were going live last night, it was like it had like 150 votes on Twitter, like as we were going live, and it was like 97% thumbs up. That's like
what was the feedback tonight?
The feedback right now, we have 74% thumbs up for night 2.
That's good for them lately. So
I know. Well, yeah, but like, I mean, like, you know, night 1 was just such a blow away. It's like, you know, it's like trying to get 97% of any, like the internet to agree on anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So I mean, look, you know, like Paul said, they hit a home run on almost like everything, you know, this weekend. It was just such a great weekend. And, you know, I'd attended all those, like the ones where it really, like me and Victoria were at the ones where it just really started to jump the shark, where it's like, oh my God, will this fucking show end? We were down in, you know, we'd flown down to Orlando to go see, and I figured, oh, it's going to be Undertaker and last match, you know, against Roman Reigns. I was like, I want to see Undertaker's last main event. Well, as soon as I heard it was going main event, I was like, that's his last match. I can't believe we got to be there. We got to be there. And by the time Roman Reigns pinned the Undertaker, I was like, thank God, Jesus Christ, get me the fuck out of here. It's like,
you got that great shot of the whole set though that night. I love that shot.
Yes, that was a great night for Wrestleview. But like, you shouldn't be leaving the stadium saying, I'm just like, oh my God, that was too much.
I was so pissed leaving in 2019. I was so
I could hear it in your voices when we were live, and I could just hear it from both of you. You guys were just spent. Like it was too long. So this is good to split it up.
This is good.
This is probably like the first great WrestleMania I've seen since WrestleMania 30 with the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania thing.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple years.
Yeah.
It's been 8 years.
No, it's been a lot. It's been a long time.
And that's been worth watching.
No, this was great. This really was. And I really hope, and I think they are going to. I think they solidified it this weekend when they announced in Hollywood that it would be 2 nights. I think this is the way to go. I think this is going forward.
But they won't go back. It's double the money.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know, they have that. If they're going to do that, that means that they have to modify the way that they book people moving forward, because you know, you have to have enough to get people to go for night 1 and a big main event for night 2.
Yeah, I think
just by having 2 nights, it could be exponentially beneficial for those that watch the show every week.
It's going to be a work in progress, but it will get there.
Yeah. I'm like the battered housewife that just keeps coming, you know, I'm like, it's going to be good. It's going to be fine. It's going to work out. You know, it's like, I keep waiting for, you know, WWE to make that turnaround, and it's going to happen.
Battered housewife. What a descriptor for Mikey right there. That was
the only thing I could think of. Looking right at Victoria.
Well, which is
I'm the battered spouse here. Just let you know.
What is wrong with you? Anyways.
Sorry.
Oh, good. Well, now I was gonna ask. Adam, I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh no, what's happening?
Yeah. Do we have you booked not just for WrestleMania next year, but at least SummerSlam?
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I'm good in spurts with wrestling, but I can't. I'm gonna be brutally honest with everyone. It's probably not the best forum to be saying this on WrestleView, but it's I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. Without
Okay,
being
okay,
mean.
so okay, what about forget SummerSlam, WrestleMania next year. Do we have?
I could do WrestleMania next year. It's a to me. Here's a nice way to put this. It's a challenge for me to watch modern day pro wrestling, from many aspects of it. I've stepped away for too long that when I do come back to it, like the Punk thing that I did with you guys, I watched that segment. I'm like, yes, I would love to talk about this, but you couldn't fucking pay me to want to watch an AEW pay-per-view or a throwaway WWE pay-per-view and be like, let's sit down and review it. I'd be like, no, I don't want to. Like, I did that for so long, and I was in that world, and I'm just like, nah, I would much prefer to take it in these kind of like bigger show or these kind of special atmosphere. I think I'm better suited for that. So I will commit to WrestleMania next year. I will give some consideration to SummerSlam because I don't know. That's
a very nice way of Adam saying no to SummerSlam, but
SummerSlam,
don't expect Adam on
AKA
SummerSlam.
Adam's too big time to just review any old show with us.
It's not that. It's a challenge sometimes to want to have the desire to do it after I did it for so long that it's bizarre to me that I have Sundays off four times a month versus just like 3, or just like last night, like when I told you, Mike, I have to go to a thing for a friend's party and I'm going to miss most of Mania. I would have never accepted an invite if I knew it was WrestleMania weekend. Like I always had to pre-plan, pre-schedule. Nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do. I don't get to say no anymore. I get to say, yeah, I can do that. Yep, I can do that now. So that's the challenge, really, is that I had that part of my life for like almost 20 years. And Paul knows quite a bit. Paul's still doing that to this day, but the sacrifice of just like, nope, can't do that. So,
but even I zoned out at one point.
You did. You tapped
3
out.
years,
Yeah.
3 years or something.
Yeah, about 3 years. Yeah.
Remember now you're telling me, you were mentioning earlier, you're like, yeah, I'd never seen Austin Theory before. I just found out who he was or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That was me in 2011 when Alberto Del Rio won the Royal Rumble.
You're like, who is this guy?
Who's this guy?
No. Yeah.
I haven't watched it for 3 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I can appreciate it better if I come in small spurts like this versus just getting, negative like I was towards the end. I was negative towards the end. It wasn't healthy.
I remember that. I remember that clearly. And I mean, I can tell you, I've been burned out. I was really, really burned out in the fall when I was like, I'm trying to like recap these like fucking awful shows, and then it's like, oh, I have to like, do a show and talk about this and think of something inspired to say about it. Sometimes it's like, why am I going to dissect something that they put almost no thought into?
Well, that's the problem, is that like Randy just said, bring back the fishbowl. Like that would be fun to do because we're not attached to having to review something in real time. Like it's just 3 random questions and then we have fun with it. And like that stuff is fun. And that stuff I would do. It's challenging to be like, cause there was a lot of stuff tonight I was completely lost on. I was like, I have no, and even the video packages, like they catch you up, but I'm still kind of like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, but it's fine. It's almost, I can almost maybe present a different perspective versus the hardcore. I watch every show and don't miss anything, but some people don't like that because they go, how dare you? You don't watch the show. You shouldn't be here. I don't want to listen to your dumb opinion and those kinds of things. So we run that risk as well by doing that.
Yeah, but that's like kind of like saying, oh, Austin doesn't deserve to be at WrestleMania yesterday and today, Well, he paid his dues, and so did you for 20 years.
I sure fucking did. I sure did.
You sure did, Adam. Well, gentlemen, thank you all so much, and of course my wife, Lady, as well.
The queen of WrestleView, the first lady of WrestleView. Yes.
One of these people is not a dude. Yes, the first lady of WrestleView, and first lady of professional wrestling, in my opinion.
Queen Victoria. Yes.
Queen Victoria.
Hey, Randy.
It was bittersweet for Victoria to see Paul
Paul
retired tonight. Officially leave the boots in the ring. But thank you everybody for being here tonight. Thank you everybody in the chat room for hanging around with us. We've been doing tons and tons of coverage, but we're not done yet. We got Monday Night Raw coverage tomorrow night or later today, and we'll be doing post Raw, the Raw after WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes is going to be talking about why he came back on Raw, so we'll have plenty for you on that show. Until then, I'm Mike Tedesco. That's Roy. That's Victoria. Adam Martin joining us back here only for the big shows. And
leave Adam alone.
And Paul Nemer. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you later today, once again, here on the Wrestleview YouTube channel. Have a good night and get some sleep.